All right, it's a Sunday, and I know it's 3 o'clock, and you're wondering what the hell is going on. We're not on at our typical time, 7 p.m. to 9 p.m. tonight, because the Houston Astros is taking on the Baltimore Orioles, and that I would say might be a little bit more important right now since we are still in the preseason because we got to see what the Astros are going to do. So hey, it's okay, ESPN 97.5, it's okay, but you gave Mean Gene the chance to come in a little bit earlier so we can still talk this smack. Could have had a day off, but hell no, we got too much football to talk about. And my man back in the hot seat again after last week. You didn't get enough, huh?
Oh, I
You
can never
didn't
say
get enough, huh?
I'll be back every week. Yeah, I'm so
Oh my
excited to be here. This
goodness.
this is great. This is so much better than what I usually do on Sunday afternoons. And hey, how about the Astros making that push from worst to first? The Astros are coming back with a vengeance
Yeah,
this season.
yeah, they are a scary team when it gets this late in the baseball season, folks. This is Jacob Meadows, and he's back with us from Coaches Quarter podcast. So you, the Coaches Quarter,
The coaches'
yeah.
quarters. You can find us
Am I
anywhere.
coming on there anytime soon?
Yeah, absolutely. You
Yeah,
want to? We can do it.
I want to come on there the week after I beat you in fantasy
So
football.
you're not coming on this season.
Yeah.
That's fine. We can schedule it for next.
I want to be on there when I know because I got to be happy when I come on there. All right, folks. Hey, yeah. So this is a special time for the Mean Gene Show. If you're watching this on YouTube or Twitch, that's fine. Okay, don't this is not last week's show. This is we're actually doing this right now. Okay, special 3 o'clock start here in the Central Time Zone. For the Astros and the Orioles. But anyway, we got a lot of stuff to talk about. Okay, first of all, Jacob's here. We're going to get into the final week of preseason football, week three. A lot of times they call it dress rehearsal,
Dress
to get
rehearsals.
ready, even though the season doesn't officially kick off until September 5th. That's that Thursday night game between the Chiefs and the Ravens. A
Ravens.
rematch of the AFC. Was it the AFC Championship game?
AFC Championship
Yeah.
game. That's a good opening game too, because you get the powerhouses, right? You Kansas City and Baltimore. It's a powerhouse game. So
It is. So we're gonna get you ready for that, okay? Because we got a lot of work to do before the official season kicks off September 5th. We're gonna look at the preseason games that was played on I think Thursday night. We had 2 games, 3 games on Friday night, 8 games yesterday, and I believe 3 today, including the Titans and Saints who are playing right now. I believe Arizona and Denver's getting ready to start. No, you're probably not gonna see Bo Nix, Bronco fans, because I think he's already all in, and you're not going to see Kyler Murray. I don't think so. And you also have the late night, which is going to be New England and Washington. So this is going to be good here, folks, because the final rosters, Jacob, are supposed to be set as of Tuesday. The 27 teams are going to get down to 53. And this is like the hardest part of football right now. Is these guys you're going to see playing tonight or even played yesterday and early in the week. Man, this is for the team.
that's the crazy part about the preseason, right? Is next week they have to trim it down to 53 men, so you have your set rosters. Half the people playing tonight are going to be working at Walmart as a greeter. They'll go anywhere. They can do
Yeah.
anything, but they're not going to be playing football. So
No, and look, and I tell you, it's tough. It's tough. It's really tough because I have been around teams. I've covered 3 training camps: the Pittsburgh Steelers training camp, the Chargers training camp, and the Bears training camp. So I have been there, and to see those guys, man, it's an eerie feeling. GMs have a hard time, and the Bears. Speaking of the Bears, they're part of the Hard Knocks thing. So you're gonna see this play out on
on
TV.
live television,
Yeah.
yeah,
So that ain't
it's
that
got to make it
sucks.
tough. It's an optics thing. Like
It does. So look, we'll come back next week, of course, and get you ready for the start of the season. But look, we got a lot to talk about today because we are continuing our countdown to the division championships. Division winners, division. We're gonna work our way to the division championships. We got to pick our Super Bowl picks. All of that we got to do next week. Last week, we did AFC East, AFC West. Now we are in the NFC finally, okay? So look here, if you're a Cowboys fan, you're a 49ers fan, this is going to be the show. This first hour, we are going to get into the NFC East. We are predicting the NFC East. That means Dallas, Philadelphia, Washington, and the crappy Giants. I'm sorry, the New York Giants. So that kind of tells people where I got the Giants finishing from.
Yeah,
I
man.
think I just gave it away, right? And then in the second hour, we're going to do the NFC West, which should be even more interesting because one of those teams, which is the 49ers, defending NFC champs and was in that Super Bowl last year.
Yeah, and they look good. They overhauled. They look ready to return. So we'll see if we get some
we're
sort of a
gonna see.
repeat out of them.
And while we are covering the the NFC East and the NFC West, we will get you the latest on CeeDee Lamb. I know a lot of fantasy football owners out there, including myself. People are just hitting the pause button when it comes to CeeDee Lamb when you see him up there in your draft. Same thing with Brandon Ayuk, which we're also going to give you the latest on Brandon Ayuk when we cover the 49ers.
I cannot wait. This is going to be it's interesting because they're top notch, right? You're not waiting for a second level player, not negotiating contracts with them. These are the guys that are at the top of their class for two teams that are projected to be Super Bowl contenders. So it adds that extra air of flair to it, right? Because it matters. It matters a lot on the in the grand scheme.
And you know,
of
Cowboy
things.
fans are going to be holding their breath every year.
Oh,
for
man,
what we're going to
you-
say,
you-
including our producer, who I have yet to mention because I know he is going to mute my mic. I feel it. I know he's not going to let you hear any damn thing I have to say about this Cowboys. AJ, are you ready for NFC East and where we're going to go with this later?
Oh yeah, I mean, I already peeped the notes. I mean, I
I
agree.
Oh, you done hacked into our rundown is what you did?
Something like that.
It's
So
going to
you
hurt
got-
so much worse whenever it starts rolling.
Yeah, that's true. It'll be all
Yeah,
right.
we got to get through it with some ease. So, okay, look here, folks. So let me tell you something that you should not do not attempt to do, don't ever do. Today, I completed my third fantasy football draft. Now, I had everything set on auto pick, but things as the bell and the whistle and everything got a little bit closer, I did what you should never do. I did the DWD, draft while driving. I did that because we had to get to the show, and Jacob's sitting there wondering, Lord, I knew I should have drove by my damn self. I mean, we didn't hit anybody. We
It's
didn't-
worth notating that, or noting that we didn't hit anything.
We didn't hit
the
anything.
drive was super smooth. Got a little shaky a couple times, but not too bad. It could have been much worse.
I just look, and let me tell you why. The reason why I left auto pick is because CeeDee Lamb came up, and he would have been my auto pick, and I was like, no, I gotta, I gotta intervene here. I gotta, and I did every pick after that. It's a damn shame.
He
so
did,
do
never
not
look back.
draft while driving. Okay, get it done before, so you don't hurt anybody. I'm ashamed of myself actually.
Be responsible. Set better auto picks.
I
Don't
should.
don't go after players under contract problems.
I should. And hey, folks, look, last week I spent 4 days in Washington, D.C. at the Podcast Movement Convention. Let me tell you, man, it was one of the most remarkable conventions I've been to in a long time. I mean, you had thousands of podcasters out there, 5,000 to be exact, and they hosted a variety. You know, we do sports, right? We both do a sports podcast, but there were people that had podcasts talking about any and everything, how to fix a broken chair, fishing, doctors, pediatrician, providing, you name it, healing, meditation, yoga, just everything.
And those people are doing pretty well, I imagine. They're taking their podcast to new heights. They're not having to work a real 9 to 5, like they're having to actually grind. They're doing great for
Yeah,
themselves.
I mean, some have, not like the one follower I have to this show, but they had like thousands of people, and
Nuts.
that business is getting really, really, really just it's growing. But look, I had to go there and defend radio. Okay?
Yeah.
Because I just refuse to let radio go. And I know podcasting is good, but folks, let me tell you, when there's something going on in the world, like, natural disaster or whatever, you're not going to hear that on no podcast.
You'll hear
You're
it on the
going to get
radio.
that from radio. Okay, that's why you always have to stick with radio. And I'm just going to hang with it. I've been in radio for over 30 something years, man. And you can't let it go. Radio, nothing against the podcast. Podcast, You can go directly to your subject. You have to hear a lot of commercials or nothing like that, but don't ever give up on radio.
The radio created an entire generation of people, and I have to pull forward with you because the radio has been real nice to me since I met you.
Well, Jacob,
So
if you stuck out there on that 610, and it's bumper to bumper traffic. Who the hell gonna tell you about that? It's radio gonna tell you.
It's the radio every
TV
time.
might show
Yep.
you, but if you can't be, if you're in traffic, you can't watch TV. Radio will tell you that the 610 is backed up. Am I right, AJ? It's gonna tell you.
Oh, absolutely.
See, don't give up on radio, folks. But anyway, I thought we would talk about that. So look, we're gonna have a fun show. This is what happens when we get here a little bit early, and we get to go back and watch the game tonight. The Washington Commanders and the New England Patriots tonight. So look, interesting cuts and people that will be. Some folks have already hit the waiver wire. We'll talk about that here in a little bit. But we're gonna talk about the Bears. And I have to talk about the Bears because I had some friends visiting this weekend, and including my girl. She's a Bears fan.
She's
So
a
look,
Bears fan.
I was the only non-Bears fan in my house this weekend. That was just a damn shame. So I was outnumbered, and we got this thing where if you're ever surrounded by more than 2 Bears fans, you got to call for help.
That makes sense.
and
Yeah, I
did.
can see that.
I did. I called the nearest fan. I called a Cowboys fan because I was desperate. I did.
Ha ha ha.
I'm sorry, AJ. I called my best friend, the Cowboys fan, because man, I need some help at the time. I couldn't even get another Steeler fan to join me. But look here, we are going to have a ball. When we come back, we are going to recap what has took place in week 3 of your preseason, the final week. Okay, it's done. No more preseason. Hopefully, your NFL fantasy football drafts are done, but in case they're not, we'll get into some of that too. So you're listening to the Mean Gene Show right here on 97.5 Houston.
You're listening to The Mean Gene Show
on ESPN 97.5 and 92.5.
for the Veritex Community Bank Studios. Here's Mean Gene.
All right, we are back, folks. Once again, it's the Mean Gene Show on ESPN 97.5, along with my man here, and that is Jacob Meadows. Jacob is from the Coaches Quarters, and he'll be joining us here throughout the football season, right, Jacob?
Yeah, buddy. I'll be here. I've
You're
got
not
my
gonna
birthday
abandon the
weekend
show.
coming up, but I'll be here every other weekend.
Even if I
otherwise.
beat you in week 6 that we play in fantasy football, you good.
I will come on an hour earlier that that week just to trash you for a full hour for beating me. Yeah, I will absolutely be
Well,
here.
you know, you got the target on your back because you won the fantasy football league.
Yeah, I'm about
last
to
year,
run
so-
it back on all you big wigs
right,
and
all
remind
right.
you of what youth can do.
Come on now. Yeah, I know, huh? Yeah, I know, because I've been like sitting on my high horse as the guy in that commercial does. So anyway, all right, let's get into what took place here. This is the final week, people. Okay, no more no more preseason football. As of tonight, it's done. Teams have to move quickly to trim their rosters down to 53. You have seen some 90-something guys on the sidelines throughout this preseason. Now, look, they don't do it all at once. They don't go from 90-something to 53 in a matter of 2 days. I think some of these cuts, some of these guys are already starting to hit the waiver wire, Jacob.
Yeah.
And the Texans, we're going to start with the Texans and the Rams. So, look, if you're keeping count here, okay, the Texans were 3-1 in the preseason. And why? If you only played 3 preseasons, why are they 3-1? Well, because they lost the one Hall of Fame game, which
It was only half a game anyways. It was thunderstorm. It
that
canceled
game
the back
comes
half of the
with just
game.
after 2 days of meeting people that you haven't seen in 6 months.
Yeah.
That's like the first 2 days of training camp.
It's
You-
always the worst game of the
Yeah.
year, the Hall of Fame.
whoever gets
game.
that game, and there's no way you're ready. You just gonna, it's just for
You pad it.
fanfare.
You suit up. Yeah, you put
Yeah.
pads on, you go out there and you play some sort of football for 60 minutes.
We were talking as we were driving down here, or as I was drafting while driving down here. We were talking about the Texans and maybe the quarterback position. Jacob, you brought up something that's really interesting here. Is that Case Keenum? I mean, is there a chance he gets cut? I mean, I just think that's unlikely, though.
After this last game, I mean, you watched Tim Boyle and the way that he ran that offense, and you've looked at the way that Case Keenum's ran it this preseason, and honestly, it really might just be that time. Like, I love Case; he's a Houston legend. I watched him play live for the University of Houston when I was a kid. Case is a legend for Houston. However, Tim Boyle seems to have a better running, not a better running knowledge of the offense, but the athletic ability to run the offense better. So I think Tim Boyle brings that last leg of athleticism to us, and it'll round us out better than Case will at this point, because you have Dougie Mills and you have CJ Stroud at starter. So you're fighting for the QB3 slot anyways, and it may have been Case may have taught everybody all that he can teach.
I tend to feel, because man, Case Keenum who got the opportunity, but it wasn't that he couldn't keep that opportunity. He was
Correct.
always getting bumped by that other quarterback. And
Yeah.
now age is caught up with him, and you're going up against the youngster in Tim Boyle, who, by the way, 19 of 28, 142 yards, 2 touchdowns, and a 103.6 quarterback rating. I mean, yeah, man, the numbers might dictate. And when you look at this team, this is a young team. I can see that, but maybe the practice squad.
He could go to the practice squad. I mean, it's not out of the realm of possibility, right? But I mean, at some point, I guess, yeah. To do a favor to Case, like, I imagine he kind of gets to dictate
that
where
guy
he goes
has
at this point.
been
Yeah.
there not only for the Texans but other NFL teams that he has played for. AJ, what do you think? Is a chance Case Keenum makes this team, or I mean, they're not going to carry 4 quarterbacks on the.
So I was at the game yesterday, and yeah, Tim Boyle, he did look nice,
He
and
did, he
it is sentimental though, because what's called Case Keenum, while he was at U of H, like his first couple of years, my uncle was actually the center there, so he was just his name was Carl Barnett. It was I don't know. So Case Keenum, he's just always been a great guy. I remember
He's a good guy.
yeah, for sure. That as well. And he does have a high IQ of football, but I mean, like you talk about his age. I mean, he's
Yeah,
getting up
time
there,
done
so.
kind of caught up with him, because he
Right.
just never really got that opportunity, but he's always been there when teams needed him.
Exactly. And I would love to see him in some type of coaching role in the future, though, because I mean, he
Yeah,
definitely
yeah.
is. Like I said, he has a high football knowledge. I mean, not everyone who necessarily plays at the highest level, is necessarily, in terms of the NFL is, as great as a coach or things of that nature. But I mean, him not being the best quarterback, he was always a solid backup. But him being a coach potentially in the future, I mean, he could be nice for sure.
Yeah, he could. And look, you go to the waiver wire, believe me, teams will, everyone knows. Last year, Jacob, we talked about it, was the year of the backup quarterback. We've never seen so many quarterbacks,
So many
go down,
injuries,
so many
yeah.
starters go down. And you got to think that if, and we're just saying if, okay, we have no knowledge of that Case Keenum is going to be cut or anything. We just, talking about this here, but I guarantee you someone will pick up a journeyman like him, even though he hasn't been like a starter, but he's still good enough to to make somebody's team.
Absolutely. I mean, even like last year, like he could have gone to like the Jets once Aaron Rodgers got hurt.
Yeah,
If he goes to the Jets, they
Can't
might
believe
win
the
some more
Jets didn't even
games.
Consider that.
Yeah, mind-boggling.
Yeah, I know. Hey, folks, don't forget, you can also kind of give us a call if you want to jump in on this final week of preseason. Tell us what you think, if you really feeling strong about the Texans, because when we did our AFC talk, AFC South talk, Jacob, you were not here, but I did pick the Texans to win that division without any doubt there. And I know what Jacksonville has done, and I know what Tennessee and Indy has done. Now they're gonna have a tough schedule, and we'll remind you of that next week before we get to the season here. But give us a call, 713-780-3776. You want to chime in, talk about even if you are a transplant here and maybe you saw something else with some of the other teams. And if you think, I give Titans fans a hard time on this show. I give anybody that's not the Texans, like in the division.
Of course. Yeah.
Yeah, we absolutely would not take any calls from any Jacksonville Jaguar fans ever, as long as I'm here. No, I'm just kidding. No, I mean, look, it's going to be an interesting division, but the Chicago Bears and that team, because they are just really that team because of Caleb Williams and
Prolific on paper.
So many people want to compare Caleb Williams to C.J. Stroud, thinking that they're going to get that reduplication. That's rare, but Caleb Williams I have changed my mind about Caleb Williams.
Yeah.
I haven't drafted him in none of my leagues, but I have changed my mind about his ability and what we're seeing. And I think Hard Knocks gives you a little bit of an edge, because I like to see how these guys take control of a locker room. Once you name this rookie your starter, then I need to see how the rest of the players are going to gravitate to him. And I will say that what I've seen so far is that the Bears are all in.
It looks good. It looks like they like him there, which is great for him. I'm just like you. I didn't like him in the beginning. I didn't know how well he'd translate. He looks comfortable. It looks like he's going to have a pretty above average rookie season as a starting quarterback from day one. And Hard Knocks has definitely given you that extra peek into behind the curtain to allow you to see that
It helps.
it's not like the locker room hates him, right? Like coming into the offseason, you had a couple of guys that spoke out against some of the antics that he had going on in the offseason. But it does look like they've all kind of like they've bought it. They're all in on Caleb Williams. Everybody wants to win, and that seems to be the primary focus, which is what you want. So.
And, in looking at it, and I know Tyson Bagent, who last year started a couple of games.
Started pretty well for a couple of games, too. Had down games as well, but didn't look terrible.
I mean, he didn't look that good, against the Chiefs the other day. But, I mean, we know what we're dealing with, right?
How many late-round pick rookies do, though? That's against the Chiefs.
Look, Bears are 4-0. Okay, they did beat the Texans in the Hall of Fame game. And I don't know. You can say preseason or no preseason. Bears fans are fired up. 4-0 is 4-0.
Yeah,
Now, that doesn't always, and I don't even have the stats. AJ, if you run across them, let me know. Teams that went 4-0 in the preseason to win the Super Bowl. I mean, look, this is not indicative of what is going to happen. But it's exciting if you're a Chicago Bears fan.
Didn't Cleveland go 4-0 in the preseason the year that they didn't win any?
I'm
pretty sure they went undefeated in the preseason.
I mean, I know a lot of teams have went undefeated in the preseason.
Yeah.
But that didn't,
it doesn't translate to
Super
success
Bowl
in the regular
appearance.
season. Yeah.
Yeah, but if you're the Chicago Bears with all the hype that's surrounding them, look, they own Hard Knocks, so you don't think that 4-0 is going to come up?
Yeah, it's got to be important for them.
It's like, but hey, the excitement is there. And they go to the Chiefs, the stadium, and they win. I mean, in Arrowhead, and not. So the Seahawks in 2013, they went undefeated, and they went to the Super Bowl. But now, did they? Oh, is that the one that they won?
Is that the Russ pick? No.
The Russ pick was the 2014.
Oh, so that was the
2013-14. They went
New
undefeated.
England.
So it does matter if you go undefeated
wow.
in the preseason.
Oh, wow. So, well, we're going to hear a lot of comparisons to the 2013 Seattle Seahawks. Thanks, AJ. Did not know that at all. So, hey, there you go.
Fair enough.
And Russell Wilson is stuck on my team. Okay. He's not going to help
that
my
means
team.
y'all might go to the Super Bowl. Y'all got Danger Russ on the field.
Danger Russ. How about Danger Rusty?
Man.
Don't forget to put that wire on the end of
It's
it.
important.
Yeah, definitely. But no, the Bears are really looking pretty good, and I'm okay with this team, even though we're going to be picking the NFC North next week, and I kind of gave it away a little bit to some of my house guests this week as where I might be leaning because the NFC North has changed, and I don't want to get too much into it, but it has changed.
A lot.
It has changed. You got what? How many? You got two new quarterbacks that are there. That's not that wasn't there.
Correct.
And, and Caleb Williams and Sam Donald, and then you also have
Bryce,
Goff
Yeah, Jared Goff, and then Jordan Love.
and Jordan Love. So I kind of go with more experience, but who knows? But anyway, Bears fans, okay, look, I've said I gave them their 15 minutes, and that's it.
Hey,
We're not going to talk about them again until they win a damn game, okay?
that's all they need.
I mean, a meaningful game.
we'll be waiting a couple weeks.
Yeah. I mean, a meaningful game because guess where they come September 15th?
Where are they coming,
They
Mean
coming
Gene?
to H-Town.
Ooh,
right here.
that's going to be a tough game.
Oh, that's going to be a spanking.
Man.
Yeah.
It'll be a good welcome to the NFL for Caleb Williams.
Because now they're going to bear down, all right? They're going to bear down.
they're
and
gonna
they're
bear
gonna
down.
carry their asses right on out of here.
They're going to
Same
curl
way they
up.
came in. Yeah.
They're gonna-
I can, you know what? It's going to be 35-3. I'm just going to call this already. I know it's just 2 weeks, 3 weeks away almost, 4 weeks away almost. It's just not going to happen. But
That defensive line for Houston should be giving them nightmares already in Chicago with the offensive line that they have assembled. Danielle Hunter and Will Anderson's going to be way too much to handle.
I know, because people think that, we're homers because we're talking about but this team, have you seen it?
The talent exists. It is real.
This team, okay? All right, so so Bears fans, look, it's going to be a great season. I cannot wait. Look, we're watching right now. It's 2016, the Saints and the Titans. But when we come back, we're going to continue to cover what happened in the final preseason week, and then we are going to get into the NFC East and the NFC West right here on the Mean Gene Show. Jacob Meadows joining us here on 97.5 ESPN. Whoop, whoop.
You're listening to The Mean Gene Show
on ESPN 97.5 and 92.5.
for the Veritex Community Bank Studios. Here's Mean Gene.
All right, bottom of the first hour here, Mean Gene Show. Jacob Meadows, my producer AJ, and I know AJ is going to be all ears here on this next segment here because we're getting ready to talk NFC East predictions, right? And we like to keep it in Texas here, and talked about the team here locally, but we're going to get ready and talk about the team that's 3.5 hours up I-45. And look, I tell you what, before we can even talk about, so the NFC, which is the Philadelphia Eagles, the Dallas Cowboys, the New York Giants, Washington Commanders. Okay, a lot of things have changed, and with all four teams.
Yeah.
Okay, I mean everything. This division has gotten a total facelift. You start with the, with the Cowboys. No more Tony Pollard. Dan Quinn leaves and takes damn near half the team with him to Washington.
Michael Gallup's gone. Yeah.
You got the Philadelphia Eagles. Saquon Barkley decides he didn't want to live in New York anymore. He wants to catch the subway to Philly. So he's in Philly now, and that drama that's going on there, a team that at one time was 10-1. Next thing you know, they lose damn near
10-6 the next day. Yeah,
Yeah.
just absolutely
So,
collapsed.
Don't know what happened there. The Washington Commanders, who, as an organization in whole, they finally get rid of the former owner, Dan Snyder. They get a new ownership group in there, which, by the way, includes Magic Johnson, who seems to have his hands on everything when it comes to ownership there.
It's pretty dope. I
And
didn't know that.
so this ownership is in town, and guess what? They're trying to get rid of. I just left Washington D.C. and they're all in up there with the Commanders. I mean, commercials, the expectations up there is really high. But they hired Dan Quinn, and they also draft Jaden Daniels, the Heisman.
The quarterback Heisman winner out of LSU. Yeah, which was a great move for them. They leaped over the Raiders. Las Vegas really wanted him. They ended up leaping over Las Vegas for him. So, yeah.
And then there's the New York Football Giants, who
Woo! What a
Giants
disaster.
fans, I don't know. I look, I would hate to be the Giants in New York because that media there is brutal.
Oh, man.
Just like the Philadelphia media, but they're more brutal in New
Well,
York than I've ever
Philadelphia
seen.
wins more games, too. Like, they're
still brutal.
Yeah,
They're
well,
still-
yeah. They're
Remember
hard
they
on the
booed Santa
Giants.
Claus one time. Yeah,
But
that's
they
what,
won the Super Bowl
they-
and set the whole state on fire. So it happens.
That's Philly. But I can tell you, right? Look, and I know the preseason is wrapping up, but we saw Daniel Jones, and there isn't anyone out there that thinks the Giants. And we're gonna talk about the Giants here later. But that's that fourth team in the NFC East that we're gonna talk about. The Cowboys beat the brakes off them both times they played last year.
Yeah, I mean, so did most everybody else. Yeah, it's bad. It's a bad run. It's
really
there's
is.
windows for opportunity, and then there's windows for the exact opposite.
Then
right?
there's just a window that you just jump your ass out
You're
of.
just trying to get out of it as fast as you can. Yeah,
That's the New York Giants. Okay. All right. This team right here, the Dallas Cowboys, 25 division titles, 34 playoff games, 8 Super Bowl appearances, 5 Super Bowl championship. AJ haven't seen none of them. But that's okay. That's his team, right? Okay. That was then. This is now. So the Cowboys have not made it to an NFC championship game since 1995. AJ, that was 29 years ago.
shout out to you, AJ, because I also wasn't alive for the last time they were good.
AJ, you're 22 now.
Right. Yeah.
Okay.
That was
so
7 years before.
And Jerry Jones has owned the team for 35 years. This is his 35th year ownership with this team. Just kind of recapping. Well, before that, let's just talk about the big elephant. And this is according to Sports Illustrated. Okay, here, CeeDee Lamb, Cowboys expected to resume their negotiations. So this would be a major letdown. I think, and AJ, you can tell me and Jacob how you feel about this. I mean, I don't know how, and just looking at everything that's happened with the Dallas Cowboys, look at how they got beat out the playoffs last year by the Green Bay Packers. Look at the situation with the Dan Quinn leaving and going to a division rival, and you would think that this team would have just came in the gun loaded, so to speak, and ready to go. But here we are, a couple of weeks before the season start, and they don't know if they're going to have their number one receiver.
No, absolutely. Yeah, it's definitely a cluster. I mean, with Jerry Jones, I made a YouTube video on my YouTube channel saying that he's the most unconventional owner in sports history, and I think that's definitely true. I mean, he always wants to control the headlines. I mean, you see on every single show on ESPN or just sports media in general, the Cowboys always have a segment, but it's always some controversy behind it. And now, like, you have CD, one of the top 3 receivers, in my opinion, in the NFL, still not there, still not at training camp. They're already back in Dallas from Oxnard. He hasn't been training at all. I mean, in terms with the team, could risk a soft tissue injury when he comes back, and you don't want that. And then just with Dak, that situation as well too. I mean, I understand it because I mean, a lack of playoff success, but it's just it's gross.
None of
I
we
mean,
start. None
yeah.
of we start Jacob at all. Huh?
No, not even remotely. And it's monumental because CD gives them the best chance to be relevant in any way. Like if without CD Lamb, the confidence level with that wide receivers groups it can't be good. Right? Like that CD Lamb does round out their wide receiving core. Michael Gallup's gone. I'm not even Brandon Cooks is still there. He's great. He's also 32, 33 years old. You can't rely on Brandon Cooks to really hold you over. So CD is your guy. That is the guy. Ezekiel Elliott's gone. Tony Pollard is gone. So he is the offense outside of Dak. So it's monumental for Dallas to do anything with this.
Well, and look, back-to-back 12-5 records there, and they win the NFC East. What was that? They won that for the first time in that 2021 season, right?
They were 12-5 the last 3 seasons.
Yeah. So I mean, this is just look here, and of course, we know what happened in the playoffs, right? They ended up they had that the 3-way tie with the 49ers, and then the so they play the Green Bay Packers.
Yeah, and then
a
Jordan
game
Love
that
came out of nowhere and
that
just smacked them.
Yeah. I mean, so this is just, I don't know. I mean, so look, this team can be. I picked them to go to the Super Bowl last year. So look, and that I actually did pick them to go.
They
to the Super
could
Bowl.
be great.
Justin Pfeiffer can vouch for that. And I just man, I couldn't believe what I was seeing with this team, because they are really, on paper, I guess we could say, pretty damn good.
They're the most elite underachievers that I've ever seen in professional sports. They should have had so many years over the last decade where they could have made a run, and they don't. They find a way to beat themselves year in and year out. And it is the wildest spectacle in sports to see, because they're big. Jerry Jones has all the money. They're big.
Yeah.
Like AJ said, they're on everywhere.
Yeah, they are the most expensive sports franchise out there. So okay, we all thought that Jerry would make major changes, and many people were shocked, including myself, that he said, hey, we all will own this. We all own this, and he's bringing everybody back. But you would think, in saying that okay, if you're going to keep Mike McCarthy, you're going to keep everybody, you're bringing everybody back. Dan Quinn left. That happens every year with teams. But you would think, from a player personnel, that all of those contracts would have been signed, sealed, and delivered by now.
Yep. You would think that you would prioritize bringing your players back if you want to run it back with all of the same players. That is, like, Jerry Jones is the most unconventional owner in all of sports. That's the best way to put it.
Well, I mean, I don't know. They lose Tony Pollard, which many people don't really think was that much of a drop off, but they didn't draft a running back, right? Am I right? So that kind of shocked everybody in the draft. So they ended up bringing Ezekiel back, who, as a rookie, him and Dak, that was a 13-3 team.
Yeah.
Remarkable. So maybe the mojo, is going to be there. I don't know. I mean, it's looking pretty, it's just looking not good. Now, things could happen where they could come out slow here. And AJ, what you said here, man, CD Lamb not on the field there, and he gets in his first game, man. We've seen this movie before.
Exactly. You don't want to risk that, because I mean, that's the thing about it. I just don't get it. I mean, you could have got it done before Justin Jefferson got signed. You saw receivers like Devontae Smith, AJ Brown, Amon-Ra St. Brown, even Tyreek Hill got a little extension too, like even a few months ago. So I mean, there's really no excuse. I just don't understand. I've heard stuff about the years being a dilemma, something like that. CD wants like 3 to 4. Cowboys want like a little longer deal, and that makes sense. But
Spread the money out.
Yeah.
So CD wants his bag up front.
Right.
The Cowboys like, no. So
Right.
they're willing to, sacrifice dubs.
exactly, and they want some relief too for the salary cap. I feel like that's what it is as well. But you're gonna have to pay Micah next year too. So I mean,
Yeah.
it's like, come on now.
Yeah, well, look, when you get beat 48-32, by a 7-seeded Green Bay Packer team that had no business, really being in the playoffs. And at one point in that game, it was 48-16. And I know I hate to bring those painful reminders back to Cowboys fans there, but we're gonna hold our pick here as far as the division because we want to talk about the Philadelphia Eagles, who you know ended on a bad note, but are coming in strong here to begin this season.
Oh yeah, they've had a good offseason, lots of acquisitions. Philadelphia's really loaded up. They got Kenny Pickett. That might have been the biggest one. Got him from your Steelers. That dude's a game changer.
No,
But-
we dropped his ass off at their doorstep. Is what we did with Kenny Pickett. He said, "Hey, I want to stay in Pennsylvania." We're like, "Cool." Somebody drive him to Philly.
The Eagles took the route direct opposite of the Cowboys in the offseason. They actually went after other players and they looked to fill holes on their roster, and they looked like a more complete team, although they looked like a complete team last season until like week 11. Philadelphia is really they've come out of all the teams in that division. Philadelphia's probably made the most changes, whether that be good or for bad. Philadelphia has made the most changes in general.
Well, yeah, look here. When you start out 8-0, right? I think that's pretty much what they did, and then they lose to who? Their division rival, the Washington Commanders, and an upset. Then that's when I guess that was a sign that it was about to fall apart,
Things were about to turn
that the
around.
wheels were going to come off eventually. But
Those wheels came off.
they did. But nevertheless, they won the division last year. Okay, and excuse me.
I said the Cowboys.
I'm
won the division
sorry.
last year.
I'm thinking. I'm going back to the 2022 year.
Right. When they made the Super
Yeah,
Bowl.
that's when they won. But nevertheless, though, I mean, tell you what, we'll just hold that thought here because I know we're coming up on a break. We'll hold that thought, and when we come back, we're going to get more into the Philadelphia Eagles. We still got the Commanders and the Giants to go. So we're talking NFC East football here with Jacob Meadows on the Mean Gene Show right here on ESPN 97.5.
This is the Mean Gene Show
on ESPN 97.5 and 92.5.
from the Veritex Community Bank Studios. Here's Mean Gene.
All right, talking NFC East football here on the Mean Gene Show with Jacob Meadows, AJ, my producer, and I am Mean Gene. He is I am he. Does that make sense?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, English was my favorite subject. It may not sound like it today, but anyway, you know what? So, okay, Cowboys, we get this right here. Cowboys win the division last year. The Eagles win it in 2022. The Cowboys win it in 2021. And the Washington Commanders win it. Well, they were the Washington football team at that time. They win the division in 2020, the COVID year.
Yeah, that is.
As a matter of fact, that year that they win it, they win the division with a 7-9 record.
Legendary. Just legendary. That's when the nickname,
Am I right?
Yeah, no, that was an awful season.
Yeah. I mean that I thought that was a misprint, but I do remember this now, even though it was the COVID year.
That's the year the NFC got the nickname the NFC least.
The least,
instead
yeah.
of East. Yeah, the NFC least.
Remember, Dak was hurt too, though. So, I mean,
7-9 record. I don't think that could happen this year. I doubt it. You know, but when we look at the Eagles, who a team, you know, that won the Super Bowl back in, what was it, 2017? They beat the New England Patriots in that Super Bowl there with Nick Foles, who just retired.
Yeah, shout out Nick
so-
Foles.
And Doug Peterson, who was the head coach, now is with the Jacksonville Jaguars. So, look, this team now has a coach who is in the hot seat, especially the way the Eagles ended the season last year.
Yeah. Sirianni should be in a hot
yeah.
seat, but after their collapse last season, he should be.
So what do? They go and they make some wholesale changes, getting Saquon Barkley, which I think is an advantage to steal a good guy like that from your division rival. But look, they did something that the Cowboys didn't do. They paid their players.
Yeah.
They paid their players. They got
Crazy.
AJ Brown signed. You know, you still got the Devontae Smith. Look, you got a good team. Jalen Hurts, you know, and speaking, you know, no pun intended, looked like he basically played hurt last year.
Most
I
of
don't
the
think the Eagles did a good job of sharing that with people.
No, I think
he didn't look the same from that Super Bowl.
totally different player. Yeah. So it'll be interesting because I think you're right. I think there's a strong possibility that he actually was injured. They weren't letting in on it because he was well enough to play.
Yeah, well, you know, so look, I like Philly. I think they're going to have a good year. I'll tell you who I'm going to pick to win the division here in a little bit, but I think, you know, they just did everything that the Cowboys didn't do. And then we get to the Washington Commanders here, who now that we talked about the changes they made coming into this year, 2024, get the draft, changes, they get a new coach, everything. You know, I hated to see my man get fired there. Ron Rivera, but I mean, it just had to happen there. And Rivera was a good guy, but hey, new ownership comes in, you know, they're going to go in a different direction.
He was middle of the pack. I love Riverboat Ron.
Yeah,
I loved
like
him
him
with
too.
the Panthers, and I loved him with Washington. And it's just he was a very Jeff Fisher-esque coach. He was good for 500. He was good for half the games a year,
Yeah.
and that was
Yeah.
about it.
Yeah. I mean, great guy. I got a chance to meet him in Carolina. But look, this team here, not really a lot of expectations. They know what they're dealing with. They started a rookie quarterback. We know how rookie quarterbacks, you know, look, everyone wants to have the C.J. Stroud effect.
Sure.
It didn't happen with Carolina with Bryce Young. Heisman Trophy quarterbacks just historically have just not come out and had these stellar years that you see from their college year. But this guy has showed a lot in the preseason that got the Commander fans excited.
He looks good.
Jaden
And the
Daniels.
last stud quarterback that came out of LSU is not too bad himself. So the guy who he's following in the footsteps of old Mr. Joe Burrow.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, he it's definitely possible. Jaden
That's
Daniels.
Cody Rhodes now, man, with that new hairdo.
No kidding. Yeah.
I had to do a double look when I saw Joe Burrows. But, yeah, the Commanders are – look, I tell you what, I don't have the Commanders finishing last. I can tell you that much.
That is
in
very
my NFC East predictions. I think the Commanders are going to I mean, there's going to be some element of surprise there. Even though last year, man, everybody thought they were just dumping. They dumped players like crazy last year on defense, and
They turned out okay.
it turned out okay. So I think Dan Quinn, who is a coach that he comes over from the Dallas Cowboys, put that defense together, and he got his reputation for putting defenses together with the Seattle Seahawks, and then of course he got his starting head coach job there with the Falcons, and of course now he will forever be known as the guy that loses to Tom Brady after being up 28-3.
Naturally. Yeah.
Even though it was Shanahan probably should have got, but when you're the head coach, you're the head coach, right?
Yeah.
And of course he now he is in the head coaching role again, which I think it's a different Dan Quinn, and I think it's going to be a different Washington Commanders too. I think those two colliding together is going to be a good thing for Washington.
I think he'll be a little more comfortable in this gig. Yeah. And, he gets there. They just traded with a division rival, right? They just traded Jahan Dotson to the Philadelphia Eagles. Not to be confused with Josh Dotson, who was never great, but Jahan Dotson, who has produced
That
when
guy
healthy.
did absolutely nothing for me in fantasy
Oh,
football.
my God. Yeah.
I mean, yeah.
He was a tough handle, but I think Jahan Dotson going to the Eagles is going to be good for both parties, seeing as how.
Oh, I just don't like these divisional trades here. I mean,
Yeah, it does.
not a good thing.
It's as if they're not afraid of him, right? You can use this guy however you want. There's nothing he can do to us.
We're gonna see how it's gonna work there. But AJ, look, Dan Quinn take a couple of players from the Dallas Cowboys to join him, and he didn't take no scrubs. He took some pretty good players.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I expect that defense to be nice because once he stepped in Dallas in 2021, I mean, that defense was humming for sure. But I mean, with them, it's just a wait and see type of thing. Like both sides. I mean, they added a lot of veterans like Bobby Wagner defensively. I mean, I wanted the Cowboys to try to get him. That's a really good signing. Like offensively, even someone like Austin Eckler, that's pretty good. And then of course having Jaden Daniels. I mean, that team can be really good. He could be a rookie of the year candidate. And his running ability and how dynamic he is as a passer. I mean, we saw that him winning the Heisman last year.
Yeah.
So, I mean, they are definitely a team that could be a wild card. I don't know. They have some potential for sure. I mean, it's kind of scary as a
I
Cowboys
know that
fan,
hurts
but-
you. to
The
say
talent
that.
is there, but
yeah, we have to see
We're
it, though.
talking,
Mhm.
and we can say this. Back in the day, Redskins, it used to be, everyone knows the Cowboys and Washington have always had history, and they have no respect for each other. I know that. And,
I don't like anyone else in the division at all. Couldn't care less about any of them.
well, I tell you what, man, this is going to be interesting. So, are you ready to talk about the New York Football Giants?
Oh, dude, I'm so ready to talk about
Yeah.
the Giants. It's going to be the best clip of the
we
entire.
talk about a team
entire
that
division.
finished with a 6-11 record, right?
Yeah.
Did not qualify for the playoffs. Believe it or not, they did have a Pro Bowler. Can't believe it. One Pro Bowler to make the Pro Bowl. But Daniel Jones, everyone. Look, one thing that's tough is to wear two hats when you run an organization, and that's what Brian Daboll is doing.
Yeah.
I don't like general managers and head coaches being the same people.
He was better as an OC anyways. He was a terrific offensive coordinator, and it feels like he's bit off more than he can chew, and it's definitely going to show its face this season, more than likely.
They lose Saquon Barkley, which I think when you look at the way that offense is set up there, you needed him more than anything, especially when he showed that after getting that injury that he came back and played exceeded expectations, Jacob.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, of course.
So
It just feels like they're moving in a very strange direction. It's like they're moving towards a pass-heavy offense, right? You have Darius Slayton, you bring in Malik Neighbors, you bring in Devin Singletary at running back, and it looks like you're loading up for a pass-first offense in a team where your quarterback had an average of 1.2 seconds to throw the ball before he was sacked by 3 different people. Daniel Jones is going to be getting ear-holed every single play on a pass-first offense where they still can't complete passes.
last year that offense, 85 sacks they gave up. I mean,
Something like-
you
yeah.
saw what happened to Daniel Jones getting So I don't know. And I guess we how appropriate that we're talking about the Giants right now because and we can work our way from worst to first in the NFC East, if you don't mind. So the Giants will be the worst team in the NFC
In the
East.
cellar. Yeah, they are probably going to be the 32nd team out of 32 teams in the league by the end
I
of
got
the
the Giants finishing fourth. I got the Washington Commanders finishing third. I got we wouldn't have a drum roll. I got the Dallas Cowboys finishing second in that division, which still might be good enough for playoffs. It has been for the last few years, right? More than one team has made the playoffs in that division.
Mm-hmm.
And I got the Philadelphia Eagles winning the NFC East, which I mean, that's my who you got.
So I'm only going to change one thing. I'm not going to say live on air that I think the Washington Commanders are going to win that division, but I will put them in second place. I'm going to take the Eagles at first, and
But if they do win it, you're gonna say, "Well, I said
well,
it." But I
I'm going to
didn't
say that
it.
I alluded to it, and then I ended up not saying it. But no, because I think Washington with the rookie quarterback and what have you, they're a year off from being serious, right? But I do think they can come in second place in that division with all the positive moves that they've had and the fact that the Cowboys stalled, right? They did nothing to add to this team. All they did was lose pieces. So I like the Eagles to take first place. The Eagle, until unseeded, the Eagles should be considered first. And then give me Washington, and then give me Dallas.
So you got Dallas. You got Dallas third place,
Third place in the NFC
and
East.
you realize that third place may not include a playoff appearance.
Correct. Yeah.
Depending on what we pick in the other NFC
If
divisions.
best case scenario for our boy AJ, I'm hoping that they get eliminated from playoff
I want you to look
contention
at the
early.
camera right there. Hey, I want you to look and tell our YouTube and Twitch listeners that the Washington Commanders are going to win the division.
Hey,
You heard it.
I hope it happens because then Jerry might step
August
away.
25th.
And the moment Jerry steps away, the Super Bowl window opens for the Dallas Cowboys.
Hey, that is a good concession, though.
All right.
Most definitely.
Well, what a way to end this first hour. When we come back, we got more football, including if you're watching the Titans and the Saints. Man, what a way to
What a
end
game, yeah.
the regular. I mean the regular
The final preseason
game. I'm sorry. 30-27. They just keep going back and forth. So hey, stick around next hour. You listen to the Mean Gene Show right here with Jacob Meadows, AJ, right here on 97.5 Houston. Yes, and Jacob Meadows and AJ. That's right. We're here hour number 2 Sundays. Sundays are going to be just pretty much like the opening of this show. Jump around. We're going to be jumping around with these live scores because this is our last prep show. This is our final preseason show.
That is correct.
Okay. So we got to bring the heat. Things are going to change drastically on this show because there's going to be some trash talking. There's going to be I told you so's and all of that stuff. And hey, you can tune to the Coach's Quarter and listen to all the stuff. Because see, we're different when we're not in front of the cameras. Here. We really be
Very different.
Yeah, our shows get kind of lit. So Jacob will be doing his weekly prediction of NFL games. You can catch myself and Dustin Pfeiffer on the Sports King show. We will be doing our NFL countdown show. We've been doing this show for 20-something years, and I think last year I got Dustin pretty good.
You did.
I won at least 70% of my predictions from prior to going into the season. But by the time we come here on Sundays to do this show, the Mean Gene show here, you won't really know who I picked because I'm going to be a winner come Sunday, regardless. So, because we're going to be talking the action and what's going on here. So, hey, that's going to be fun, folks. But, hey, second hour here, just in case you missed any part of the first hour, you can always go and get that on the Mean Gene Show, ESPN 97.5 Audio Boom. Is that right, AJ? That's where you can just go and get the
Yes, sir.
podcast, listen to the show. This hour, we will get into some NFL news and updates. Roster cuts once again. The final 53-man roster will take place on Tuesday. And look at the waiver wire, just like you would do in fantasy football, because those players, it works pretty much the same. What are one man's trash is
Another man's treasure.
yeah. So that's
Yeah.
I hate to kind of put it that way, but that's kind of really the way it is, right?
That's
And-
diamond in a rough.
I mean, that's just the way it is, right? So, and then we are going to also cover. We got some fantasy football tips for you because I did complete my third fantasy football draft today while driving to the show. We call it DWD, and I did it. It's done. I didn't hurt anybody. Jacob held on to the handrails in the car. We didn't.
Everybody, please drive responsibly. Drive responsibly. Don't draft for your fantasy
Don't-
league while driving.
Do not do that. And I'm glad I'm done with it. But I do like who I selected.
Team ended up good.
I got a pretty good team.
Yeah.
I got Jamar Chase for the second time in the draft. I got Jonathan Taylor.
Yeah.
I got Evan Ingram,
You did.
and I'm trying not to grab my phone. I'm trying to remember all of this. But Zamir White. I
You did
believe.
end up getting Zamir White.
Yeah, I
who
think
saved
I
my
did.
league
I
last
got
year.
Tony Pollard too, in that.
I thought you got
Yeah.
no. Somebody else got Tony Pollard. You wanted Tony Pollard.
Is that what it
Somebody swooped
was?
him out from under
So
you.
I'm
Yeah.
basically lying on air now.
Lying on
I
air.
didn't get Tony Pollard.
He was pulled like two people before
Okay.
you.
I got David Montgomery, and I got Devontae Adams. I got Waddle. I got a good AJ. You like that team?
Hey, yeah, that's a pretty good team. You got Jamar Chase, Devontae, Jalen Waddle,
Thank
Jonathan
you.
Taylor. Yeah,
Waddle
Montgomery.
fell to
Thank
like the
you.
8th round for him. It's
Eighth?
ridiculous,
And
dude.
That's
Yeah.
crazy.
I got
That is
Fairbairn as my kicker. And guess what defense I'm rolling with? The Texans.
Oh, okay, takes
Nobody's going to
so-
take the Cowboys defense.
So look, and I'm already projected to win my first game. This is going to be indicative of the whole season.
It's not.
Yeah, and I got Tuga Valoa as my quarterback. You like that? And on my bench, I have Gabe Davis, Cole Kmet, and I have Jerome Ford. And I had to do something with Deshaun Watson, so I had to. That's just too much damn money to just leave him out there and not draft him. He's gonna have to.
He's going to have he needs to
Something.
have a good year.
He's gonna have to do something.
He'll never play another down in the NFL if he gets cut after this season
And
and doesn't
Cleveland will
produce
try to
anything.
get out of that.
Because this is their final year with guaranteed money, so they can wiggle out from under his
And
contract.
believe me,
after
they
this
will. That's gonna probably be breaking news at some point during the season if he doesn't get out there. And then I got the tight end for the Titans. I can't never pronounce his name.
Aquankwo?
Yeah,
Aquankwo?
yeah, you know they give us these things to pronounce it the right way. I haven't looked at it yet,
little cards.
I do butcher up names if I don't forget them. You know, I usually forget them.
I
It's
do
probably
as well.
better to
Yeah,
forget the name than to butcher the name up.
that is correct. Yeah.
Yeah. So, all right, but we are going to be talking NFC West. We just did the East, and if you missed that, I have the Philadelphia Eagles winning the NFC East. I have the Dallas Cowboys finished in second. I have the Washington Commanders in third, and I have the New York Giants, who are just going to suck it up. Giants fans, you better hope the Jets do well, and it's okay. Jump ship, because at least you get two teams in New York to choose from.
At least you don't have
I
to
would
drive any
go with the
further.
Jets because they're going to be better than the Giants.
They've got to be. There's no way Gangrene's worse. It's going to be a rough year for the Giants and all of their fans.
Yeah, look, and if the Jets suck, because there was one year when the Giants and the Jets both sucked. I don't think they won like 10 games between the both of them.
It sounds like a
And
lot of years
I've never
recently.
seen so many people jumping in the Hudson River.
Yeah, right.
And, yeah, because I mean it's just something. Well, so the NFC West is going to be interesting because we have a Super Bowl participant that was in, the Super Bowl, and that's the San Francisco 49ers. We'll talk about them, and we also get you caught up on is that a run back? Is that a kickoff? Oh no, that's a highlight there. So we're watching the Titans and the
Saints.
the Saints here, final preseason game here, which is a back and forth game here. But anyway, we're talking about Brandon Ayuk. Not as bad as a situation as the CeeDee Lamb Dallas situation is, but you're talking about two polarizing wide receivers.
Yeah.
And for fantasy football owners, it's just a nightmare. You don't know what to do.
You don't know where he's going to go because Ayuk's he's not the number one de facto receiver for the 49ers. So the 49ers, unlike the Cowboys, can afford to kind of play ball with him for a little bit longer just because they have more on the team around him that can produce. They have Christian McCaffrey, they have Debo. Like they have other talent. I do think that this Ayuk situation, of the two between him and CeeDee, I think that the 49ers are able to hammer out this deal. I think Kyle Shanahan and the offense wants him there. I think he wants
the trades.
to be there.
Cleveland was an option. The Steelers maybe was an option.
The Patriots offered to break the bank for him. I talked
Don't know
about
what
it in my
happened
last
there.
show. Well, he came out and said he didn't want to play for the Patriots
He
or the
wants to play
Browns
for a winning team.
exclusively. Yeah, he did
Yeah,
not want to play
yeah.
for the Patriots or the Browns.
And I get that, and anyway, I mean they were going to give him his money though, so I don't know. So maybe he wants to play for a winning team. Well, guess what? He's already on
a winning team. Yeah.
So somehow the 49ers need to figure this out and try to get it done. But anyway, we can kind of get into some of the news that's happening out there in the NFL, and that is Zay Jones. The commissioner basically handed out suspensions, whatever you did in the summer, off season, that, if you get in trouble with the law, it's going to have some sort of impact. This also impact fantasy football players too. You got Zay Jones, the wide receiver for the Arizona Cardinals, suspended for 5 games for violating the NFL's personal conduct policy, which is going to hurt.
And this was a guy that was coming off of a good year. He's coming off of a couple of good years. He's played for the Jaguars, and he looked pretty good, and all things considered. And then you come in and you have these allegations against you, and there's no sense on commenting on it one way or the other until more facts
Did
come out.
something wrong.
He did something, yeah.
In order to get a 5-game suspension, which
A 5-game is a pretty hard one to get to. Normally they slap you with a 1 to 4, and he got a 5. So it's got to be something serious.
it's something serious. And then we also have the Los Angeles Rams. They're going to be without their starting left tackle, Larry Jackson, to open the season. And the league announced that he would be suspended for 2 games for violating the NFL's personal conduct policy. So now he'll be eligible for reinstatement week 2 of the NFL season. So, it just any type of a suspension is rough on a team. Now, one name that we have not mentioned, and that is the wide receiver for the Kansas City Chiefs, and
Rashid Rice.
Yeah,
Yes.
who we all know what he did. And I think because it's still a pending investigation, perhaps, was shocked that his name, and it still could happen, but
It's coming.
It's coming. He will be suspended for a number of games with the Chiefs, and remember the Chiefs they pick up what Hollywood Brown, right? Because I think they kind of
Who's hurt
who's
now?
hurt. By the
Yeah,
way.
Hollywood Brown got hurt, so
And
now
the
they're
Chiefs are going to be hurt because at one point in time of the year, wide receivers couldn't catch a cold,
well, I mean, they're
know.
just going to be in the same position they were last year, where they had to find new ways to win.
And they found a
right?
way.
and they find a way every
Yeah.
time. But
it's
they do have
called
to
behind the
find
back passes from
Pat- Travis
Mahomes
Kelce.
to Kelsey.
Got to have
So,
Xavier Worthy catching nothing but
yeah,
bombs.
how
Still
about
have
that?
100 yards.
That guy might end up being the standout guy.
He's the new Ty Hill. They drafted him to become the new Ty Hill.
Yeah, especially so, and that's just a pending suspension that everybody knows is coming. And I think the Chiefs were proactive in getting Hollywood Brown and getting the Worthy kid. So because it's a matter of
time,
of
not if.
when, not if.
Yeah.
So anyway, so that's just some of the news that's going on in and around the league. And I believe next segment for all you fantasy football players out there, and look, I'd like to hear from you. Okay, you're more than welcome to call the show if you haven't done your draft yet. If you have, tell us who you have. Who 713-780-3776. We can get into it here in this next segment here on just some of the players, some of the top players out there, and maybe some of the do's and don'ts. Okay, so you're listening to the Mean Gene Show right here with Jacob Meadows on 97.5 ESPN.
Now back to Mean Gene, broadcasting live from the Veritex Community Bank Studios.
All right, we are back once again, moving right along here. We are on an early start here to this Sunday, and that is because of the ESPN coverage, Astros and Orioles. Baseball's getting ready to make that final push there. You know what I saw on TV yesterday, Jacob?
What's that?
College football.
Oh my! Isn't it magical?
Yeah.
It feels so good having college football back.
That's when fall is coming. Even though the temperatures outside will not give you any indication that that's true, but
It's
it is
coming.
coming though.
And did you watch the Georgia Tech game? Georgia Tech and Florida State.
I did.
Oh,
I
what a
did.
game! Number
Over
10,
in Dublin,
Florida.
Ireland.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And what a start to college football, and to have the number 10 team in the nation fall to an unranked Georgia Tech, because that's what the playoff committee envisioned.
Well, look
when
here,
all this started.
and look here, and I know this is an NFL show, but that doesn't mean we are going to totally ignore some of the things that happens in college football, especially when we come in here on a Sunday and you had a magical college football Saturday night. We definitely got to get into some of that. But yeah, it's good to see that. And there was like 4 nationally televised college football games on yesterday. And of course, next week, as we get into the Labor Day weekend, that's when it hits the fan. So,
Boy, it's going to be a good
Yeah.
season. It's going to be a
Yeah.
good year of football for
yes,
all
'cause
parties involved.
They always get to start first before the big boys, which,
Yeah.
perfect timing. You get your last week of NFL preseason, you go directly on into college football. And remember, what is it, 12 teams that make the playoffs this year? Did they
it's
move to the
8.
12?
No, it's 12. It's
It's
12.
12.
12.
Okay, 12
Yeah.
team playoff.
Oh, so amazing.
God,
You got teams like Liberty, teams that
Liberty, Cincinnati's
did
going to have
well
a shot.
last year. Yeah. And on any given, it'll be nothing like a NC2A basketball tournament upset. But you might see some shockers, and I hope it works out that way.
With all the Saban leaving and all the things of that nature, we may see less SEC teams. It wouldn't even be. I mean, Georgia's probably a shoe in, but beyond Georgia, the SEC is just a crapshoot with A&M. UT's finally. UT's good again.
What about the Big Ten? Some of those big Pac-12 schools that abandoned ship now, and it's going to be crazy. Some of the matchups when you see USC and those teams, and never thought I'd see that. But
No, not at all. It's going to be a
unreal.
crazy season.
So I'll be watching it. We may not be talking about it much on an NFL show like this one, but we certainly will be keeping our eye on it. So look, one of the things that happens after you complete your fantasy football draft, and in some leagues, they give you a grade.
Mhm.
So when we conducted our fantasy football show here, was it last week?
Last week, yeah.
We did it. It's the Sports Kings League, which Jacob won, by the way, and it's a paying league. So there's money at the end of this. Some leagues do it for fun, but we actually have an investment in this. But they give you a letter grade, which is all based on this. It's a computerized grade
Based on
that
talent.
spits out to you what you did. Jacob what'd you get?
Got a D minus.
You got a D minus.
Return of champ got a D minus. Yeah.
And I get an F. I got an F on mine, and I'm also scheduled to get my ass whipped in game 1 of the season. So look, it's just a grade. So you might get that out there, you fantasy guys. Look, go make your picks. The computer don't mean anything.
The
I
grades don't matter.
have won fantasy leagues with, I don't know if I ever got an F though, but I had a D grade, and I still won my league. AJ, you put any emphasis on that when they grade you like that? Are you worried at all about an F?
I mean, sometimes it holds true, but a lot of times I think it's just I wouldn't pay too much attention to it because I mean, if you know the personnel that you have is pretty good, I mean, that's what matters most. And then some people that you have that are sleepers that end up having a huge season. I mean, that's all it takes.
You
to,
can't project a sleeper, right? That's why there's this.
But if your league tells
Exactly.
you that you suck, your team sucks before you get the letter grade, that's probably an indication that you're not going to do well.
Where you finished last season, they let you draft real high again this year, and I have a feeling that your F's going to turn into a solid B plus by the end of the season with the talent you have
look,
on your team.
I mean, and look, and we all get caught up in the same thing when it comes up in fantasy football because look, you got quarterbacks that were hurt last year coming back. You got running backs now that really, back in the day, I had Brian Westbrook one year, and that guy was just running all over the place. At one time, running backs used to rule fantasy football. That's not the case.
Before it was a pass heavy league.
Yeah, now, if you got a good quarterback that can chunk 300 yards a week, and we've seen that from the likes of Aaron Rodgers, although he's 40 years old, you're seeing it with Tua, who passed for over 4,000 yards. You look for some of those 4,000-yard passers, and you pair them up with some wide receivers that are just doing magical things, but it's never the same. That's what I like about it. Each year. It's a different beast. You don't know. You got holdouts, like we said. You got 2 good wide receivers that are holding out right now.
Yeah.
And that could, if CeeDee Lamb doesn't play until week 4, remember, he's got to get in game shape.
That changes things for you,
It
right?
changes things.
You got to take him in the first round. It's the only round that he's going to
Well,
go.
I mean, you got to take him. I decided not to take him today because, you want to start out strong.
Yeah,
in
you
your
want to
league.
win your games. Yeah, and there's
Right.
no telling when he comes back.
And just like, and then on the opposite end of that with Nick Chubb, everyone saw what he was doing. He was about to terrorize the running back position before he went down. but now he's coming back at some point.
Yep.
Okay, what you say? He's squatting
Sooner
500
rather than later. Yeah, they
pounds?
posted that video where he squatted like 580 pounds the
Yeah.
other day, and he is doing well in his recovery. They've just said that he's got a little ways left to go, so a couple more weeks of TLC rehab. But
Some of
nuts.
these things, and I guess what I'm trying to say here, because you know, I last year in one league where I did win the championship, started out horrible, finished strong. And sometimes it was like having a Nick Chubb or somebody come back from an injury and kill it, or finding a hot rookie wide receiver like in Reed last year with the
Packers.
Packers. So you just don't know, but it's always good to finish strong. If you get off to a 4-0 start, man, you're in the driver's seat for making the playoffs.
Yeah, and it is nice not having to buckle up every week hoping for that 5-point victory just to keep you on the edge of contention.
But don't you hate those win-loss? Find
Yeah,
yourself
man.
at 500, and you know the next 6 or 7 games are so critical.
It's just stressful. It's all so stressful whenever you get to that point.
But I'm gonna tell you this, and AJ, I want to get your thoughts on this. There's nothing like waiting till Monday night and find out that you lose by like a smallest of a percentage point.
Yeah, that always hurts. I don't think that's happened to me, but like just seeing it from social media
It's
and like some
happened to
people
me.
for real.
Like when the quarterback takes the knee at the end of the
Oh
game.
my god,
And
Yeah.
you lose that one
Yeah.
run yard.
Oh yeah, that has happened.
that is gross.
Yeah.
I think I did it. It might have been Dustin last year in our league. I won. It was like by 0.08 points that I came out on top.
When you or when they slide, when the quarterback slides, and he just keep going. You need
5
that.
more.
Yeah, I mean it's so, but this is what makes fantasy football so fun. But anyway, great players out there. Look, it's a wide receiver league. I can tell you that. One of my strategies is to try to draft that best wide receiver. And in my auto draft today, it was CD Lamb at the time.
Yeah.
And
with no contract disputes, it's a good
yeah,
pickup.
I had to abort that pick because I didn't feel right. But one guy, and he's probably going to be the most overdrafted guy, I think, and that's going to be based on because the prognosticators are telling you to take him, and that's McCaffrey, who I think, man, you can just run a guy in the ground after a while.
Yep, and I'm glad you brought it up. I've drafted in 2 leagues so far, 2 out of the 3. I've got Christian McCaffrey starting at running back in 2 out of my 3 leagues so far, as he fell to the second pick in your league. So I took him live on air, and then I accidentally auto drafted the first pick in my personal league, and I got him there. And honestly, he's the one superstar that I do believe might not play every game this season because of wear and tear. He got used and abused in Carolina. He hasn't missed much time with the 49ers, but he's been hurt all preseason. It's a soft tissue injury, which can nag you. He could be fine for 8 weeks and then miss the last 9. So it's going to be CMC is definitely a risky pick.
You don't
for
know
the
when to
top
pick
pick.
where to pick your poison, because Tyreek Hill, who just was lights out, man, for the first several weeks, for the majority of the season. But then again, he has to share with Waddle,
Jalen Waddle,
which is good if you got Tua, because Tua is just going to be throwing 300-400 yard games left and right.
prayers left and right.
So you want that type of quarterback there. But also, but Tyreek Hill hurt me in the playoffs when he was hurt in the playoffs
It couldn't suit up.
and tried to play. Remember in that one game. So it's always a mixed bag of nuts there, because you don't know when it's going to happen. That's why every round of your draft is important.
Yeah.
That you need to think about the what ifs. What if this quarterback goes down? What if this wide receiver is not available? And it's a wide receiver, in my opinion, it's a wide receivers league.
Yeah. I mean, I do like to take a running back in the first round because they can catch and run the ball. And most wide receivers outside of Ty Hill don't take very many end rounds. But yeah, it's a wide receiver. It's a pass happy league. And wide receivers are your bread and butter. It's where you make all of your points up at. So,
And if you're, a Justin Jefferson fan there, because he's done well, you got to remember who made Justin Jefferson do well, and that was Kirk Cousins for the most part. He's not going to be throwing the ball to Justin Jefferson. It's going to be maybe Sam, I can't believe I'm still in the league, Donald.
Just out there seeing ghosts, man. Yeah.
Sam, this is my, fourth team, Donald. You know, I was at the draft in Dallas when he got drafted.
Really?
You know, him and Saquon the same year.
Mm-hmm.
So we sitting there, you know, interviewing this guy, and I'm sitting there, you know, with my microphone and in my hand, and I there was a question I wanted to ask. I didn't because I heard this response to the previous question, and I said, you know what, I'm just gonna leave this alone. This is another USC quarterback that I just don't think is gonna be good, and so I'm just and there I was right. Unfortunately, you know, I love USC, but man, you know, if you draft Justin Jefferson, you have to consider who's going to be throwing him the ball.
You just have to hope he pulls a Devontae Adams, right? Tay Adams has gone over 1,000 yards the last couple seasons. Didn't matter who was throwing him the ball. You're going to want to not matter whether it's Sam Darnold or anybody else launching that ball to him. That hopefully he's going to catch.
You mentioned that because I do have Devontae Adams, and the Raiders couldn't make up their mind. You know who they still have yet to make up their mind, right? Who's going to be the starting quarterback? Is it
Correct.
Is it
No,
Minshew?
they named Minshew. Yeah.
Did they
So,
name
so
Minshew?
it is Minshew.
Mm.
I mean, we all
Okay.
saw it
Well,
coming.
and Minshew shows signs that he can throw that ball, but
He's a good quarterback.
yeah, I'm okay with that. So okay, well, look, that's fantasy football. Okay, we try to give you some good advice. Of course, if you want to share some of your strategies or your draft, we certainly like to hear it at 713-780-3776. We're going to take a break. When we come back, we are going to get into the NFC West with Jacob Meadows and Mean Gene here on the Mean Gene Show, 97.5 ESPN.
You're listening to The Mean Gene Show
On ESPN 97.5 and 92.5.
for the Veritex Community Bank Studios. Here's Mean Gene.
All right, we are moving right along here. Mean Gene Show, ESPN 97.5 on a Sunday, getting you ready for NFL. Of course, NFL football regular season kicks off September 5th. That is going to be a Thursday night, and it's going to feature the defending Super Bowl champions, back-to-back Super Bowl champions, Kansas City Chiefs, hosting the Baltimore Ravens. So, man, the NFL don't play around. This is a marketable game. They know it. I kind of like this format, Jacob, where you just get right into the action, and then we have a rare Friday night football game in Brazil. Are you going to that game?
I am. Yeah, I'll be. No, I'm not. That is cool. It's a cool that they've opened up into a new market. I like
Yeah.
this whole push by the NFL to get into as many foreign markets as they can. It's kind
And I
of cool
don't
that
think
Brazil.
they care if
got a-
those fans are like football. I mean, some of them they do an educational thing there.
Yeah.
where, like an NFL experience type
Mhm.
thing to get the fans
So they know what's going on.
to get. Yeah, I mean, believe me, that's how they do it. Else they'd be sitting there like going,
Yep.
like what's going on here. But hey, we talking NFC West here. This at the bottom of the hour here, second hour here on the Mean Gene Show. So let's go with the order of finish, like we did pretty much for the NFC East. There,
Okay.
the Arizona Cardinals 4-13 last year. Just historically, this Cardinals team, they have not finished first place. I believe it was 2015 was the last time they finished,
Wow.
and they were 13-3.
The cards
That-
were also stacked against them a little bit last season. You have the new coach coming in. You have Gannon taking over the what was it, the DC for the Philadelphia Eagles
Mhm.
stepped in. He took over that offense. Kyler goes down with an injury.
After they fired Cliff.
Yeah, they fire
Kingsbury.
Cliff Kingsbury. They bring Gannon in, and it's a completely different. It's a culture shock, is what it seemed like for the team. They were playing as best they could. They had the Josh Dobbs. They brought in Josh
yeah.
Dobbs, who gave
Yeah.
them their best
Oh,
chance
yeah,
at
yeah, I
winning.
know.
They were competitive in games that they were expected to get blown out in.
The rocket scientist.
Correct. Yeah. The dude who's too smart to be in the
Yeah.
NFL, and he's out there throwing passes on
Exactly.
everybody. Yeah, so I mean, they had the cards stacked up against them a little bit last year, but they've been underachievers for the last, what'd you say, 2015? So for the last 10 years.
Yeah, that was the last. Look, because they finished dead last in 2022 also.
Yeah.
Okay, with the same identical 4-13 record. The 2021 season, they finished with an 11-6 record, which gave them hope. And I think was that Kyler Murray's first year?
Yeah, that was when
Yeah.
he entered the league and set
Okay.
everybody on fire. Yeah.
So and then things dropped. As soon as they told him that he had to do homework, then they went down.
had to stop playing Call of
four-
Duty and had to start
four-
watching film.
4-13. He's like, yeah, we don't have time for that. But I mean, look. So I don't know. I would, and we're not gonna make our picks right now as far as this division. But look, I don't see. It's a change at the helm. Anytime these young quarterbacks experience that kind of turnover,
Mhm.
meaning from just personnel turnover. So now you got Kyler Murray working with his third, maybe fourth. What is it, third or fourth?
Third.
Yeah, third. I mean that
It makes it more difficult.
it does.
You're
Yeah.
learning a totally new offense. Yeah.
It does. So I mean that's going to be strange. So now the Seattle Seahawks, who finished 9-8 last year, man, how they pulled off a winning record still, and it was not enough to save Pete Carroll's job.
No.
And this is really, they fell off. Look, in 2020, that team was 12-4. They won the NFC West, and they haven't done 2021. They go from first to worst.
Mhm.
Which go figure. 12-4 1 year, 7-10, and then they come back. So this is this back-to-back 9-8 seasons. But Geno Smith gave them something that no one expected.
Yeah, Gino played over the level that he's played prior. I mean, he looked like the Gino that came to the Jets and was just eager to make a difference, and he looked great for Seattle. I mean, naturally he had his hiccups here and there, but Gino played good ball. He developed great chemistry with DK Metcalf and Tyler Lockett. They had a decent run game with all the various running backs, including Kenneth Walker, who they have now. Gino gave them a breath that I don't think that they expected to get out of Gino, and he's been a great bridge player up until this point. So I do think that they have a better season this year than they had last. I will give them that. I think Gino's going to be able to put together a bit of a better resume this season, only because their offensive line is getting healthier. They've added a couple of pieces here and there. And although Pete Carroll had to step away, he's still part of football operations with the Seahawks. So I think this is going to be a good positive year for the Seahawks.
And then we look at the Rams, who finished the season 10-7.
Mm-hmm.
Good enough for second place there. And it's you get Matthew Stafford, who can forget they get to the Super Bowl,
Mhm.
and the year after that Super Bowl, it's like, what the hell happened? you know, they open up the season, and Buffalo just beat the brakes off them.
Mhm.
Like what happened? And then they were never the same after that, Super Bowl year. They haven't been the same, but they did get better. That was 2021, right?
Yeah.
When they were, and then they go from 12-5 to 5-12. Go figure, right?
That's the natural run of things. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's just crazy when you see that, and here, of course,
And they lost Aaron Donald this offseason. Aaron Donald
he
retired.
He finally, and they knew that was going to be happening.
Yeah.
They experiment with a couple different running backs, man. It has not been any consistency at the running back position for the Rams at all.
No, not. And you wonder if they're missing Cam Akers right now, who's running like crazy for the Houston Texans. It's starting to look like Cam Akers never should have been released by the Rams at all, because the guy Kerryon Williams that they have there right now, or they have pegged as the RB1 for him right now, has not looked great. He's been very inconsistent. He had some games last year where he was a dog. He had a couple of games last season where he went off, but it hasn't been consistent by any means. And you wonder if the Rams are going to miss that second head of the 1-2 in Cam Akers.
Well, I mean, I give it to them the fact that last year they were able to kind of get through, even with the injuries they had. They started out 3-6, which was not bad, but then they went on, a 7-1. They were 7-1 in their last 8 games. So I don't know. I don't know. 10-7, lost they lost the wild card to the Detroit Lions, right? Which everyone understands that.
Played a good game too. Almost didn't lose that game to the
almost
Detroit
didn't.
Lions.
Yeah.
Detroit won it in the end. They were
So,
competitive.
You got Matthew Stafford, Kyron Williams, Puka Nacua, Aaron Donald, Pro Bowlers, right? This team is still a threat, okay? And of course Sean McVay, who is still, one of the
Top 10 head coaches in the league, no matter how.
Still one of the youngest coaches.
Yeah.
So, and we'll see. We'll talk about where we think they're gonna, finish here, but they're always a threat. Matthew Stafford, we talked about this on the way riding down here, how this guy who, all those years in Detroit,
all those
chunks of yardage that what is he? He's probably over 16,000 yards. I mean, I'm just guessing.
Yeah.
Seen any stats to support that. I'm just looking at his career and his body of work.
Just did so much with so little for so long in Detroit.
You know what was weird was seeing Calvin Johnson, a couple of years ago when I was at his Hall of Fame induction, and he just retired, and Matthew Stafford was part of those numbers that put him in the Hall of Fame.
A large chunk, yeah.
So it's just weird to see, like, wow, and here's Stafford, still throwing the ball. Finally gets the Super Bowl.
Had to leave Detroit. Finally got the Super Bowl.
Had to leave. So the Rams are always exciting to talk about. And then you got the 49ers, which the 49ers, they win the division in 2022 with a 13-4 record, win it last year with a 12-5 record, get to the Super Bowl. And, of course, for some reason, they just struggle when it comes to the Kansas City Chiefs. It's just kind of
just like
tough.
Everybody else.
Yeah, it's just tough for them to beat the Chiefs, but they also now have other issues, and that is after returning from winning the NFC West and being the defending NFC champions. Now they come into the season not knowing if they're going to have one of their top wide receivers.
Yeah, well, CMC's hurt too. Not only do they not know if they're going to have Brandon Ayuk for the entire year, CMC's hurt.
60% of the offense.
Yeah, that is literally, yeah, that is 60% of the offense.
I would say.
At least, they have George Kittle, who, not to ruffle any feathers, but I believe is the best tight end in the league, right? George Kittle's the best all-around product at tight end that the NFL has to offer. Debo's the best gadget player, pretty sure we've seen in my lifetime. He can do everything. The offensive line is still good. Brock Purdy is still good. that defense somehow never gets worse. They could lose any name on that defense. It doesn't matter. Whoever they replace them with tomorrow is going to be a bigger name for less money. That's been their bread and butter for years now, since D'Amico Ryans was their DC. So the 49ers are just they're so good. They're so good at turning over from adversity. But this is going to be this will be a good make or break year for Kyle Shanahan, don't you think? Because it's eventually he's
Well-
going to have to do a little bit more, right?
Well, look, I mean, you look at the 12-5 record, but man, things were so tight last year with them, even in the finish. So look, they get to the division, the playoffs. They almost lose to the Packers. It's a 3-point game, 24-21. They get to the NFC Championship game, they almost lose to the Lions, right? 34-31. Then they get to the Super Bowl, they go to overtime, and they lose what? Another 3 points.
Yep.
Right? So, and I mean, they could have gotten beat by the Packers, who should have won that game.
Correct.
I think a lot of people still feel the Packers should have won that game. So I don't know. And I always talk about that window of opportunity where you see it right there, how close it was. And then just like we said about the Dallas Cowboys, we're here, the 49ers now, they have their holdout situations there. And Brandon Ayuk was a big part of that. And look, they're going to also have a quarterback situation here because they're going to have to pay Brock Purdy.
They're going to have to break him off. And
At some point, that's going to be an issue.
that money's got to come from somewhere. And I doubt the salary cap's rising enough to, make all of it work. So I
'Cause
think
he's got all the resume to go in there and demand his meal ticket for the rest of his life.
maybe, I mean, he was put on a stat. I mean, do you pay Brock Purdy 40, $50 million a year? If you're running the 49ers organization, do you think he brings you enough
It's the
value?
market. 40 he would be grossly underpaid.
Yeah, that's valid.
I mean, when you look at this market here, we just, it's the 50 million mark.
So you have the salary cap. You have a
Yeah, I tell you what. Who you thought?
Yeah.
Just hold that thought. I tell you what. When we come back, folks, we are going to get more into the NFC West, including our predictions here on the Mean Gene Show, ESPN 97.5.
You're listening to The Mean Gene Show
on ESPN 97.5 and 92.5.
for the Veritex Community Bank Studios. Here's Mean Gene.
All right. We are in the final segment of the Mean Gene Show here on this early Sunday afternoon broadcast of the show. We came on at 3 o'clock, and we are going to leave here at 5 to make room for the Houston Astros and the Baltimore Orioles on ESPN Major League Baseball. We're talking NFC West, and we basically kind of gave you a history of how things, finished for the season last year.
Yeah.
For the NFC West, the 49ers are still, pretty much the favorite here. They've won NFC West now. I think it's 2 years, but back-to-back years, right?
Yes, sir. Yeah.
If I'm not mistaken. So this is I don't see much of a drop off. But there is an exception here, which we just kind of gave you a little bit of the history as far as last year, just in the playoffs, how tight it was.
Mhm.
Every game was so tight for such a dominant team there. And then now they come into the year. It just seems like the wide receiver position is Minnesota took care of theirs, and some of the other teams have paid their wide receivers. But, it seems like Dallas and the 49ers here, Brandon Ayuk, who is looking for more money. He knows he's a critical part of the offense.
Mhm.
And things have gotten ugly at sometimes because even no matter what we hear out of Dallas, we have heard nothing nowhere near the conversation of CeeDee Lamb asking for a trade.
No.
It's just a serious holdout.
Mhm.
But Brandon Ayuk has actually
Publicly
requested
demanded a trade.
a trade, and it looked like there were some suitors with the Pittsburgh Steelers, the Cleveland Browns,
And the New England
and
Patriots.
the New England Patriots. But what are his numbers? I mean, what makes him think he deserves this kind of money or whatever kind of money he's asking for?
Well, not even doing his entire career with the 49ers. And I just clicked something that I shouldn't have clicked. Last season alone, he had 75 receptions on 105 targets for 1,342 yards, 7 touchdowns, and an average of 17.9 yards per catch. So he has the numbers to justify a contract. It's just more or less finding a team that A, has the cap room to bring him in and pay him what he wants, and then B, also have the capacity to win games, because you can get rid of whomever you want on a roster, bring Ayuk in, but you have to have the talent around him for it to matter, right? You can go anywhere. He could go to the Jets. They could trade him for Garrett Wilson and Aaron Rodgers, right? Just for a complete hypothetical. They could trade him there. He can make all the money in the world with the Jets, and then they'll win 0 games. There's not enough talent outside of Ayuk to actually make a difference. So that you have to be able to find a team that can afford him and then also have the capacity to win, which is what the 49ers have. But I think he wants too much money, and kind of like how we were talking in the last segment, Brock Purdy's going to have to be paid soon. So I think they're more of
they're going to have the same type of Dallas Cowboy problem.
correct. Yeah, they're having a futures
yeah,
problem where they're
right.
trying to think of how they can make the years and the money work so that they're not left out for dead with both of them.
Mm-hmm. Well, look, he's been a critical part of the team. We talked about last year's run before, losing to the Chiefs in the Super Bowl and the close games in the NFC Championship against the Lions and the Packers. But take it back to 2022 when the team was 13-4 and his impact on, they win a wild card game against the Seahawks.
Mhm.
Then they beat they beat the Cowboys in that divisional playoff game.
It's all good because they still haven't won. They haven't won a Super Bowl. It's been longer for them to win a Super Bowl since the Cowboys have. So.
It's been a while.
Yep.
You're right, and then they lose to the Eagles in that NFC Championship game. So look, here's the thing. Are they? I mean, look, they can't even get out of their conference. Look, a lot of people know and feel that the Lions should have won that game last year, but Brandon Ayuk is critical, is what I'm trying to say. He's been part of the Brock Purdy maturation, if I can say that.
And Brock Purdy seems to have a better connection with Ayuk than he does with
He
Debo.
does.
There will
He
be
really
people that
does.
disagree with that, but he has a much better connection with Ayuk.
He finds this guy in the most when you need to find Ayuk. He's been there for Brock Purdy. So I think, if I'm the 49ers, I got to think, look here, man, we struggle with the Eagles. We struggle, we struggle with the Lions. You still got to get out of the NFC, and it just looked like, man, you don't really need this going into it. So, I mean, having said all of that, do you still find them to be strong enough to win the NFC West?
Yeah.
Despite
Yeah, I
everything
mean,
that's going on?
until dethroned, they're going to sit at the top because they have all the talent. The 40, like I said before, the 49ers have all the talent. Their defense is stacked. They have more skill. They have more stars on offense than any other team in the NFC. Just people that sell jerseys, right? Jersey numbers, your merch sales. They have more stars than any other team in the NFC. So until they've been dethroned, the 49ers should be considered the best team in the division, I would say.
Well, all right, it's time to make the NFC West predictions. So we'll go from first to worst on this one. So 49ers, I think it should be, regardless of the Ayuk situation, is it critical you got to have them. What about their running back situation?
I mean, I think
I know Debo was hurt for a little bit. So, when Debo's not on the field, man, you scratch your head. You don't know if they're going to win or lose.
Yeah, I don't even know who their backup running back is behind Siebes. Is it still?
Is it Elijah Mitchell?
That's who I thought. Is it Elijah
that's
Mitchell?
what I thought. So anyway, I mean, I just know that they're gonna need, with players retiring and changing, zip codes and everything, they just gonna have to really come out and be dominant. And that's not, with Kyler Murray coming back and you got Marvin Harrison, they're gonna play some. There's gonna be some tough
It's a
losses
hard
in their own
division.
division.
Yeah, that's
With
a
Geno-
tough division.
With Geno, coming back, and man, you see what these guys are doing in the preseason. It's going to be tough, and that division has always been tough.
It's one of the funnest divisions to watch, just because every team every year always has the ability to beat
Those
somebody
games
else.
are
in
so
their
much
division.
fun to watch. Whatever matchup you get,
Dog
in the
fights
West,
every time.
NFC West is always good. So I got the 49ers still being strong enough to get that first place. I'm struggling with the second place because between the Rams and the Seahawks, I got to think that I'm going with the Rams to finish second place.
Yeah, I like that. That's going to be the same pick that I have for second. It's going to be the Rams.
And third place, I have to give it to Seattle. And, of course, last place, and who knows, man, Kyler Murray might have fun with Marvin Harrison Jr.
I think Arizona's the third place team. That'll be the
know,
only difference.
you got
between
them
us.
third?
I
You
have
got them
Arizona finishing third.
So
I
you got
think
Seattle finishing last?
Seattle in the cellar this
A
year.
new coach now, first year with no Pete Carroll.
I think it'll be an adjustment period, despite the talent that they have. I think there will be a small amount of fall off as they bring in this whole new scheme. Yeah, I'm giving Arizona. Kyler Murray's pissed off, man. He looked great at the end of last season. Came on strong after he came back from his injury. They got him a shiny new toy in Marvin Harrison Jr. I think that Arizona offense is going to shock some people, and that defense was better than it should have been last year already. So,
AJ, what you think about the the NFC West prediction?
I think it's a give. Well, for the most part, it should be a given that the 49ers should win. But I wouldn't be surprised, low-key, if the Rams, kind of dethroned them. I
could
mean,
shock them, dude.
right? Because
could dethrone
injuries
them.
happen. We saw the Niners get hit with the injury bug a little bit. Of course, not wishing for that at all. But I mean,
Cup,
reality,
Puka
exactly.
Nacua,
Puka, right? And
Matthew
then
Stafford, if he's healthy.
right, exactly. And then they also added Blake Corum, so I mean that'll have some relief.
Oh,
for
yeah,
Kyler
that's right.
Williams.
That Blake
Yeah.
Corum's going to be good for the Rams.
Right, defensively they drafted Jared Verse. Of course, you don't have Aaron Donald still, but I mean they still have a solid unit.
Yeah, they
They've known Aaron
could win the
Donald was
division.
leaving,
Mhm.
so.
Right, exactly.
They could win the division.
They could.
But I just think that the NFC, and I don't even want to give away because we still got to pick the NFC North and South next week. But man, I don't want to get caught looking ahead on where I'm going as far as the NFC matchup here. But it could be someone other than the 49ers coming out of there, and it's tough. But like I said, I love watching this division play.
This
Football.
division gives merit to the any given Sunday
It
quote.
does. It really does. So, well, we are about to wrap things up. Next week is the NFC North and the NFC South, along with the entire prediction for the whole 2024 season. So you got your we got to pick all the way to the Super Bowl, which
I've got my picks pretty wrapped up. Yeah, I've
going
got,
to be in New Orleans, right? And we can't wait to get down there next year,
I'm so
February.
It's
seven,
hop, skip, and a jump
through
away.
10. Oh yeah, just hit that highway. So don't forget, NFL kicks off September 5th, Chiefs and Ravens, and that's when it's just gonna be fun. So look, hope you enjoyed us coming on a little bit early. We're gonna get on out of here. AJ, thanks, man. Jacob, we'll see Jacob back here next week. Enjoy the rest of your Sunday here as we get closer to the start of the NFL season here on the Mean Gene Show, 97.5 ESPN.